Okay, welcome everybody to Chalice and Chains. My name is Sam, and oh my god, I have some live streamed RPG content for the first time in 4 years.
4 years. Yeah.
We're going to be playing Dark Age of Man, which these two fine gentlemen, Jason and Dell, have created together, along with input and help from many others in the community. And
Yes.
this is quickly becoming my favorite role-playing game system. Because of the way that it handles.
We'll discount the book for you,
Thank
Sam.
you. Yeah, once you get that full art version in there, let me know and I'll get it. What we typically do is we'll have the game session that usually lasts about 2 hours, might go a little longer, might go a little less, and then we have a little bit of post-game banter, and then we will, of course, split that into 2 parts so you can watch both of those. So before we jump into the session, I'll let these gentlemen introduce themselves and who they're playing, and then we will get right into it. So Jason, if you want to go first, or...
Yeah, I'm playing Janus of London, a merchant here in Dredgewater, peddling his rare spices. I also play the second character, Yami, or an NPC, so to speak, backup character, a bodyguard for my character, the merchant.
All right, I'm Dell. I'm playing Brother Boethius, who is a local monk that's inhabited this town since what was the priest before Aethelwald?
Falcone?
I'm drawing a blank. Falcone, yes.
Falcone, yes.
Gangster.
Since him. All right, so I tend the orchards and carrier pigeons and the gardens, and but I'm stepping outside of my comfort zone, or so it would seem, with Janus here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, and just for anybody watching, this is a bit of a continuation of the 4-session Chronicle that Jason ran for us on Roleplay Cafe, where I played at the time Brother Aethelwald. And so if you have had a chance to watch that, some of the characters will be familiar. And if you haven't and you're a little bit lost, go ahead and watch that, and everything will be revealed. And then the last thing I'll say in the meta, so to speak, is generally we are going to it's pretty much just role play and a little bit of dice rolling, but there's not a lot of heavy mechanics. I'm not going to be really taking any time to explain anything because it's pretty self-explanatory, and I'm pretty sure Jason has done a lot of videos on explaining how the system works.
I'm good at explaining.
All right. So, without further ado, let's do it. So, in the first session, we basically ended with a mob of religious fanatics, Christian religious fanatics, that are concerned and or maybe taking advantage of the situation of Bishop Aethelwald being missing. And there was a smaller group of pagans that came out. They're better armed, but they're a much smaller group who came out to kind of meet these religious fanatics because they were concerned about what would happen if these guys got out of control, because they remember the events of 3 years ago when the previous Lord of Dredgewater had instituted pogroms against the pagans. Subsequently, since his son took over, of course, there has been a peace, but it seems it was a short one piece. And so now the the merchant Janus of London and his Arab bodyguard, Yami, have decided to pick a fight with he looks like a Dane, but I believe he is, at least we believe that he is Lord Eric, or Alderman Eric of Howard Town's man, and he might be a shady character. So Yami tried to violently apprehend him, but this man was a much tougher combatant than maybe was initially thought. And as violence broke out between those two, it set off a powder keg, so to speak, and now everybody is fighting. And so, before we jump into the action, I'll just say one more thing. The mob of religious fanatics is made up of a few of the leaders, right? One of them seems to be of the clergy, and some of them may be lay people, but are kind of affiliated. But the majority of them are just citizens that seem to kind of, got caught up in this rabble, but are definitely Christian. They're not well armed. They don't have armor. They might be carrying, like, some of them may have torches. Some of them may have, a pitchfork or a spade or like a kitchen knife or something, right? Whatever they might have. But the pagan group, which is much smaller, they are armed. They have swords or they have spears or whatever, and at least some semblance of armor. It probably wouldn't be high quality, but it would be enough. So, you're looking at probably 20 to 30 religious fanatics, maybe 10 to 12, maybe probably more like 8 of the pagans, and there's about, I think, 6 of the town guard, and then you guys. And so with that, as fighting starts and you start hearing the yelling and the cursing of these fanatics, as some of them rush in to fight the pagans, some of them rush in to fight the town guard, some of them stand back like, whoa, we didn't actually want to fight anybody, we just wanted to be part of this crowd. There's chaos. And so you see Henry at this point, who was in between the two sides going like this, he gets out, like, because they start rushing. And so he knows he can't stop it by himself. So he kind of jumps out of the way before the two sides clash. But it is in that moment that the first blood is shed. We're not quite sure who got cut yet, but there has been bloodshed. And so that's the scene that we open up on. And so you guys let me know. Maybe we'll start with Boethius, since you were there. You were clanging on that bell, trying to get everybody's attention. You see Henry make it out, and he's kind of scrabbling over to you, or towards your direction anyway, yelling, "Stop, stop, this isn't the way." So what?
This way, Henry, this way. I'm going to back up, and then I'm going to start working my way to the door of the monastery.
Okay.
And call in the brethren, call in the faithful, and I'll open the door and see how much I can attract any attention, and how much he can effectually do the same.
Yeah. And so some of the monks are, or the whatever, there's probably no nuns in this particular place. There might be a separate little nunnery for them, but right now it's just monks. Yeah. And so some of them joined in with the fanatics. Some of them stayed in the chapel, and some of them seem to just kind of be watching, but they're nervous, right? And so they don't. If you're calling, hey, we need to rally, they don't want to have anything to do with it. At least the ones that are still in the church, they are cowardly with their normal leadership. Yeah.
Yeah, choose this day. I'm offering them sanctuary, and then I'll start boarding up the place as soon as we get in there. As soon as I know that nobody else is running toward the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and you kind of notice that the throng has shifted so that the religious mob is kind of more close to the church, with the intention that they don't want anything to happen to it. But probably that nobody's intentionally gonna do anything to harm the church, because it hasn't been. There's no need to. It's been a good thing for everybody so far. But yes, you can start to kind of board it up. Henry, though, is like, no, we don't have to worry about that. We have to stop this. And you see Vidar just like swinging this mace. He's trying not to hit anybody, but he's like waving it around, see, stop, and he's probably going to start thumping people soon if they don't back down. But the mob is just riled up. And so are you, Boethius, going to continue to kind of barricade as well as you can the church and try to make it safe for the brothers and for Henry and all that?
They choose this day where they
they'll
stand Henry. I'm telling him that, okay, as I, shuttering the windows and the doors or whatnot.
Okay.
So, if I'll keep a lookout if anybody's running to the church to let them in.
Sure. Okay. Okay, fantastic. Yeah, and so then the scene would almost shift over to first to Yami and this great big Dane-looking guy, right? And Yami kind of came in with his scimitar and his dagger, and this Dane has like this Saxon like short sword right out, and he like as he kind of squares up with Yami, they're probably about equal in size. They both look pretty ferocious in their own way, right? Yami being a bit mysterious because he's from far off in the Middle East, wearing different clothes, but very formidable. And this Dane just scary like Danes look, and he's got the battle fury on him now. And he sort of starts circling a little bit. And Yami is in that dance with him. Mm-hmm. And basically this Dane is trying to encourage him, like, yes, come on, fight me. And so what would Janus and or Yami, how would you guys be reacting to this scene?
Janus looking on as the rain's of course starting to fall, and he sees now that it is Yami was this wasn't an easy task to hamstring him and drag him to me.
Yeah.
And I see the chaos break out. You look at Samantha, which we're standing out front of Goldleaf Inn in the rain, and I look at Samantha to the Blackleaf Inn. There were many rabble rousers celebrating. Get them. We may have a problem. And I will then draw my flat sword, double-edged flat sword, wheezing, look up into the rain and start heading down toward the battle as Yami circles in the rain and can't speak any of this language, but he knows the motion for bring it on. And so Yami will come full bore with both weapons, drawing his best defense with the large weapon, and then hoping to maybe skewer him in the thigh or the ribs with the dagger.
All right.
In a quick two-step rush.
Fantastic. So go ahead and if he's going to attack, go ahead and make Yami's attack roll against this Dane.
It's going to be 9 total, 6 plus 3.
Okay. Cool. All right. So yes, he manages to. What did you describe? What he was doing? He was trying to hamstring him.
So he's bringing his scimitar, forcing him to use his weapon to defend the scimitar, and while he does so, would take advantage of that to stab him in the thigh.
Okay.
Trying basically to wound him and cripple him enough that I can negotiate a better physical dominance over him. Yeah.
And so, as that happens, right, and as there's the clang of Yami's blade meeting the sax, he blocks it. The Dane goes to pivot to kind of get out of the way, but because the road is starting to turn from that dirt into mud, he slips a little bit. And as he slips, his leg comes out, and Yami's able to take advantage of that and stabs the dagger into his leg. The Dane just lets out, it is a yell of pain, but you can also see now that he's not like grimacing, he's sneering. He's starting to get excited. He's not excited. He's starting to get the battle fury on him. And if anybody has witnessed the Dane battle fury, it's scary. Yeah.
Stoic, professional demeanor. There is no emotion in Yami. This is he's seen it all before.
Awesome. Right? Yep. Okay. And so what's going to happen then is I almost imagine Yami barely manages to pull the dagger back out as the Dane regains his footing, and as one of the I guess it would be one of the pagans is kind of near him. The pagan kind of gets in front of him, and he basically just like knocks the pagan in the head, to kind of knock him out. And he takes the spear basically right out of his hand, and with holding the spear in one hand and his his sword in the other hand, his short sword. He gives out this. And he tries to come at Yami to make an attack on him. So if Yami can roll a body roll, it's probably Yami is focused and he knows the Dane is injured, so it's probably not going to be a terribly difficult thing. But this is a seasoned fighter and he's got the battle rage. So
12 plus 3 body, so 15.
Did you roll a natural 12? Okay.
You want to see it?
No, I believe you.
It's beautiful.
I love it.
So with that, Yami squares up and he sees while he wrestles the spear away, Yami waits until he tries to strike that spear, and I just kick the poor pagan right back into the spear.
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
So we're using this pagan as a puppet now between us, and I boot in the rain this pagan back onto his spear thrust.
Yeah, and I think
killing the pagan instantly with his critical hit.
Yeah. Oh, the pagan whom the Danes stole
Right. So while he's caught between us while he wrestles the spear away and then comes after me, I just boot the pagan right onto his spear.
And what ends up happening is it takes the Dane down onto his back as the pagan kind of falls on him, and you can hear the spear shaft break as it kind of like impales on the ground. And for a moment, the Dane is just, he's trying to shove this now dead pagan off of him. But definitely that he's down, he's prone. So how are you guys going to deal with that?
First, I'll say that Boethius goes up to the altar after he's shuddered a bit. I waited a little bit of chance to do that. And he would take out fish out his holy symbol and kneel before the altar, kiss it, and look up and pray that the Lord stay with his champions, the rightful, the righteous, and please illuminate that for me as I'm doing that. So,
yeah, fantastic. Okay. Yeah, so we'll go back to the scene in the street here, and what do Yami and Janus do?
Janus is working his way as fast as he can, having a chronic illness as he does. He can only go so fast, and maintain any kind of integrity of endurance. So working through the mud, down across, sizing up Yami's advantage, seeing what's going on, keeps the sword at his ready, but he'll stay on the edges of this, as he may have to step in and double team this giant Dane if so, but Janus won't engage unless there's a need or an opportunity. So Janus is waiting back, and if he has to, he'll strike from behind, so to speak. Right. Yami is going to step on top of this dead pagan, 1 foot on the dead pagan, pushing his body weight down on top of the Dane.
Yeah.
And with the scimitar, try to cut the sword arm, either disarm him or literally cut his hand off at the sword on the sword arm.
Yeah, the Dane can't do anything, so Yami can do whatever he wants to in that case.
Oh well, I'll disarm him then. I don't want to maim him.
Sure,
but I want to completely disarm him.
Yep.
while I keep a boot and this pagan's dead body on top of him.
Yeah.
And make eye contact with him in the rain, and basically nod my head, slowly.
Yeah.
Mm.
And as you do that, the Dane looks up to you, and he's reaching for his sword, but his fingers can't quite make the he can't grip it. I think at that moment, there's this crack of thunder and the bright flash of lightning, right? As like a storm is starting to come. And like for a minute, standing almost right behind this Dane, probably Yami would see it too, but Janus would definitely see it. It's this vision of some holy man. You don't know who it is, but he looks like he could be a priest or perhaps like, I don't know, maybe he's the Pope or something. But anyway, it's definitely a Christian holy figure. And he's like holding his hand out almost as in a stop motion to you. And just as you start to like kind of blink your eyes against that flash of light, it's gone. And so you don't know if this was a real figure, one of the brothers, what the heck just happened. But there was definitely that. And I will say, Boethius, as that crack of lightning, because you would have seen the light right outside of the windows, and you would have heard the thunder crack. And for just a moment, and you would see that, and for just a moment, standing behind the altar, you could swear that you saw Bishop Aethelwald in his full, bishop gear.
This startles me. I'll backpedal and fall on my rump and push myself back and open my eyes several times and try to clear them. And I'm visibly, I don't know if anybody entered the Abbey with me, but I'm visibly shaken at this moment. I get up and I'm shaking, the cross is hanging around my neck, and my hand reaches idly down into the pocket where I dropped the thing, and it almost feels, in my mind, too hot to touch. Maybe bearing some guilt or whatever to me. I take my hand out. Sweat is starting to profusely come up down my face, and I walk over, still shaking with the holy symbol in my hand, and look out of a window, halfway boarded up window, and out there I see where this foreigner that I saw with the bodyguard, and I'll see the man that I had entrusted my travels with, the head up north, standing there above this, what appears to be some kind of a paganistic Norse laying there. And I muttered to myself, may chance the Lord can use the ignorance for his glory. Glory be the Lord. And I'll kiss it, but I'm shaking the holy symbol. And I kind of glance over my shoulder at where I saw the vision or whatever, and clear my eyes, because it was a dazzling white light that just struck through there with that. And for the moment, I'm just shaking, and I'm watching the rest of the battle and trying to see where the rest of this lies.
And so the Dane is down, Yami standing over him, Janus looking on, and having seen whatever it was, right? And the battle, right, if you want to call it that, the scrum, the whatever, it starts to shift. Vidar and the guard, along with the pagans, are starting to take control. A couple of the religious fanatics have gone down. There's very few people that have died. One of the pagans obviously did, and a couple of the religious fanatics, but they realized very quickly that most of their followers were not up for a fight. They had no desire to fight. They were just scared. They were angry, whatever. And so it quickly turned from they had the numbers to, oh gosh, we don't actually have fighters. And so the battle is, they're starting to stand down. And you'll hear off in the distance it sounds like more people are coming into the town square at this point. But we'll shift it back to Janus for a moment, and these voices are getting closer, probably behind you at this point, but they are not quite there yet. But you've definitely noticed that Yami has subdued the Dane.
Okay.
Yeah.
Blinking away and wiping with his tunic, his rain from his eyes. Not certain he actually saw what he saw. He will say in Arabic to again over the throng in Arabic. I will issue an order to Yami to subdue, apprehend this man, and then I will say in English to the Dane lying there, you have been bested. Give yourself up peacefully. And I'm assuming the throng behind me is those that I asked Samantha to fetch. So I'm not turning to look to see who's coming. Janus believes that's probably the work of Samantha, bringing people to the event.
Yeah. Okay.
So I'll order Yami to stand to basically apprehend him, and I'll tell the Dane not to fight, or he is finished.
Right.
Or the North or whatever he is, but
yeah. And you speak to him in like the Saxon tongue, the English tongue?
Yeah, I speak to him in the tongue we use here in Dredgewater.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. Sure. And he kind of looks over to you. The rain is kind of batting down on his face. His hair is all matted, and he kind of spits next to him, and you can definitely tell some like blood comes out. He looks to you and he says, yeah, if it wasn't for this cursed rain and that man, I would have bested both of you, and I would have split you from belly to gullet. He's like, what is it that you want? Why not just kill me?
As he says all this, Yami's picking him up onto his feet, with a dagger in his ribs, and he's pulling him up with his right hand onto his feet, to face me, basically. Mm-hmm. And then Janus will walk over and cut loose the purse of the money that he had been paid, and I'll cut that loose and hold it up. This has bought this rabble, has it not? And who supplied this plan and this silver?
And almost to punctuate the words that you just spoke, you hear now the group that had been coming into the town square, and you hear a familiar voice. It's Alderman Eric saying, what is going on here? What has happened to my companion, to my man here? Has he been accosted? Vidar, you must explain to me what is going on. And so, go ahead.
Boethius opens at the door. He's still somewhat shaken. He walks out. Mm-hmm. And I will go, since you said the crowd is somewhat dispersed, right? So I'm trying to go around to each person and tell them, that they need to go home. They need to get, disperse, as it were. And I'll be going along doing that while I'm keeping a side-eye view of what's going on with their situation.
Yeah. Okay. Well, and you could tell the mood. I mean, the pagans are angry because one of their own died. They don't know necessarily how he died, although one of them does say, starts kind of yelling like, it was the outsiders. We must get them out of here. They're causing trouble, right? And the two main rabble rousers, the two main religious fanatics, have been subdued. One is injured, one is not, but they have been basically tied, hands behind their back. They're going to be taken to the jail or whatever, and probably stand trial. And so many of the rest have already dispersed. They, the ones that have been the religious fanatic, they were kind of leaving. Although most people will know who they were, but they don't want to be around to face Vidar's mace. But the pagans are still there. The pagans are angry. But there is this, this situation, right, where Lord Eric, the Howard Town guy, he's not even really a local. He's putting out this accusation. What has happened to my man, Vidar? How have you allowed this lawlessness, right?
Okay, it's important to state that I wouldn't have approached any of the pagans.
Right.
I was approaching
Just
the other ones.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and telling them to disperse.
Yep.
God has already decided, and will decide
Yep.
the future. And then I'll glance toward where they are. But yeah, I'll kind of steer clear of the pagans.
Yeah,
Anyway.
yeah. You find that the people in this town are very much of the same mind as you. You say we should do this thing, and they're like, yeah, let's do it. Right? They're already leaving. They're already like, oh, we got to get out of here. A couple of them kind of stay because they are tending to some friends, or they maybe had a change of heart or whatever. But Vidar at this point turns, and you can see like he looks like he wants to hit somebody with his mace. Like he got in a good couple of thumps, but nothing like he was used to. And he turns to the alderman and he says, who's your man? The man down here on the ground?
I'll toss the bag of coins onto the chest of Vidar, and I'll say that coin bought this man. Eric's coin bought this man to start this trouble, and I bounced basically the coins off Vidar's chest as he asked the question. In the baggie, I'll just bounce them off his chest, and I'll point out, this is Eric's coin bought this man and started this.
And Lord Eric now looks at you, and I think, where he had thought fondly of you previously, right now, he's like, how dare you? And so, he's giving you this look, and he's like, you make accusations. I think he would know your name. So, Master Janus. But
yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, but you are not from here. And do you have any proof that was mine?
You are not from here either.
No, but I am known here.
You are about 15 miles east of your home.
Yeah. And you kind of get the impression that those words don't seem to maybe have the same impact that you would have thought, because it almost is like, the people are like, no, like Howard Town's okay, because that's obviously like where the Queen's mother is. That's where the girls went to for sanctuary, right? Like Howard Town's all right.
It's where the Lord's mother is.
Yes. Yep.
Wesweld's mother is there.
Right? Yes. Yeah. She's in the convent.
Right.
They don't obviously like her, but they don't speak ill of her. But as far as we know, there hasn't been a lot of conflict with Howard Town. And so he's like, yes, but Howard Town has always been a peaceful neighbor to Dredgetown, and now my man gets accosted, and I get accused by a foreigner of colluding to start a rebel. What would be the point? It looks like the church did it.
Your man accepted coin and was seen starting this riot. Explain that, Eric.
And the Dane on the ground, he's trying to push the pagan off of him, and he's trying to get up. Will Yami allow him up?
Yeah, well, Yami already helped him up.
Oh, he did. Oh, he helped him up. Okay.
So he's standing.
Oh, okay. I thought you did. All right. Yeah.
Point. Yeah.
Then in a very heavily accented English, right? He's like, "No, that is a lie. I was just standing here. I was watching. I didn't know what to make of the situation. And then him," and he points to Yami, "he attacked me without provocation." And some of the people at this point, they're looking on, and they're like, yeah, I saw that. That is what happened. Although, and there seems to be a lot of confusion here. But Eric is, he says, see, it was unprovoked. And at this point, you start to hear like some horns, boom, boom, and you hear footsteps coming again down into the town. But for the moment, Vidar is still kind of, his head's like a ping pong ball, like going back and forth, right? And so finally he looks over to you, Janus, and he says, well, what do you have to say to that?
I with my sword, I'll pick up the coin pouch and I'll flip it back to the Dane.
Mm.
Then where did you get this coin, and why were you here pushing this rabble?
He says,
And I'll flip his coin bag back to him, to the Dane.
and he says, "Why was I here?" And he says, "Well, I am in the employ of Lord Eric, of course, much as your man there, but I have the better sense
See,
to..."
Vidar.
Yeah.
He tells finally the truth. He is in the employ of Eric, and he is here causing trouble.
No, that is the part. I was causing no trouble. I was standing here. I did nothing.
Mhm.
And now
But
people
who
are
is the
sort of
dead pagan?
confused.
And I'll nudge the dead pagan with my boot, pointing it out to Vidar. And how did this pagan wind up dead?
And one of the people in the crowd yells, "Oh, well, he was kicked onto the Dane, sir. I saw it with my own eyes." And then the other one's like, "You're a bloody liar. You know, and a drunkard." "No, I'm not." And they seem like they're going to start fighting. And then Vidar like smashes his mace down again with a loud crack. And he says, "Enough." And he says, he's kind of waiting. He's like trying to figure out what to do here, right? Because he's not a conflict mediator, right? The way he mediates conflict is a bonk to the head. But but to rescue him from this predicament, right? You hear, "Standing in the street will not resolve this issue. Please let us return back to the manor, and we will discuss this further." And you see, it's actually Lord Westweld himself, with a few of his guards. He looks very disturbed, but he says, we cannot do this out here in the rain when when blood is hot and tempers are flaring. Please let us return, and we will solve this." And
with that, Janus will sheathe his sword.
yeah,
Pull his his tunic up, wiping the rain from his face, and he orders in Arabic, "Put your weapons away, Yami."
He does, and Lore. At this point, you'll hear another voice speak up, and it's Daedrin, and he says, "You see, further lawlessness, my lord. We must call the Witten. They must decide. Is it going to be, do we believe our friend and our longtime ally from Howardtown, or these outsiders who come in and cause trouble?" And Aethel, Westwell doesn't want to hear any of this. Like, he's not going to call the Witten, because obviously that's going to be, from his perspective, that's not going to be a fair assessment, because two of these guys are on the Witten, or part of the Witten. So
right.
He's like,
well, Brother Boethius will point out to Henry, I've been looking at him like, you need to intervene at this moment. And I'll kind of lead the way to that as I step into somewhat timidly, but, because the Lord's there, and I'll look amongst them all and then speak up and say, "The Lord Westwell has spoken. And I believe that God has already decided. But the Lord," and then I look back at Westwell, "the Lord only needs to realize it and speak it. And I'll perchance you all go to the hall, get out of this rain. It looks like we have enough work here to do to tend these, to tend those that are injured. And then I'll back out and start helping anybody that's kind of hurt and cared, and taking them into the church, to the abbey."
Yeah. It looks like Daedrin's probably about to say something more, and then you see Alderman Eric actually hold up a hand to shush him, stop, don't, which is quite interesting if you think about it, right? This is a foreign alderman, essentially, not, I mean, you know what I mean, a neighboring alderman, telling the local guy, shut up. But he sees wisdom, and he keeps quiet, and Henry will at this point, jump in, and he'll say, yes, I believe Brother Boethius is right. We should listen to our king. The king has been granted wisdom from our Lord, and obviously he was trusted by our bishop. So yes, let us go to the hall, and he will dispense justice. And I want both of you, before this happens, to go ahead and make a luck roll for me.
7 for me.
Okay.
6 plus 1, 7.
Okay.
11.
Okay. So, Janus, you're rather preoccupied with the prospect of, oh God, like I might now be standing trial. But Boethius, as the Dane gets up and, or not gets up, I should say, they start moving, you see something in the mud down kind of near where he was. And as you kind of go down to approach it, you notice that it looks like correspondence of some kind sealed in some kind of wax paper so that it would, survive the rain and whatever. And if you want to, you could make a mind roll to see if you could ascertain the symbol that was pressed into the wax seal.
Of course. And I
Yeah.
want to slip that away as soon as I'm not, if secretively, you know what I mean?
Yep.
In the rain and the muck and whatever. And that's 4 for the mind.
4. Okay. You're not entirely sure where you feel like you've seen this symbol before, but you can't really place it. Within time you would be able to figure it out, and obviously if you crack the seal, you'll probably figure it out. But for now, you're not quite sure. So will you be accompanying Janus and everybody to the manor, or will you be going about other business?
Initially, about other business, I want to bring people, the injured, if there are any, with the other brethren inside and get things situated. Let this crowd disperse.
Okay.
And then I'll let you know what I'm doing.
Okay.
But that'll be a little bit of time. That'll be what I'm busying myself with. Unless called directly.
Okay. And would Janus be walking up to the manor without any hesitation or whatever, or what would you want to do?
Yeah, and I would order Yami to attend at my heel.
Okay. So as that happens, you guys are walking along. You notice that the city guard, as well as the Lord's personal bodyguards, are they're close to you and Yami. And before you enter the manor hall, like the Lord just goes in, right? And some of his, some of the other aldermen go in, but you're stopped, both of you and Yami, and he says, "Must leave your weapons with us. Cannot enter the hall with your weapons."
Yeah, and I'll nod to Yami and in Arabic tell him to surrender his blades, and
Okay.
I'll draw my flat blade sword and hand it to him. He'll first.
Yep. And they take them, and then they look at you, and they look to Yami and say, "And that's all of them, right?"
Yes, it is indeed.
And then one looks to the other guard, and the guard nods and says, "All right, go on in then. And then, come and see me before you leave, assuming you get to leave, and I'll hand these back to you." And so you enter the hall, and it's sort of at this point, several of the aldermen who are still up, still awake, still here, right there, they are kind of assembling around the hall, and some of their retinue is there. The servants that serve Lord Westweld are kind of milling about, does anybody need anything? At one point, you see Samantha come in, and she goes up to the Lord and whispers something in his ear, and he nods, and then she departs. And it's a few minutes go by, and Lord Eric starts speaking, right? He's like, "My lord, thank you for taking the time to to hold this council and to dispense justice. I think that we should. And Westweld holds up his hand, and he says, "You've said quite enough, Lord Eric. I wish to hear from Janus of London. I came in at the very end of your story, but I want to hear from you first. Then, my lord, my alderman, you will have time to speak."
Janus takes off his overcoat, which is soaked, and he'll lay it on the floor out to dry. Roll up his sleeves, and he'll walk around the circle of these onlooking aldermen, etc. First, I would call 3 witnesses to mind, your lord. The first would be Vidar, as I had approached Vidar earlier in the evening, and I told Vidar that there may be trouble afoot, as we had seen this outsider accept coin from Abric's man, or from Daedrin's man. Daedrin accosted and said, "Foreign, poor things in public, witnessed in public about you, Lord Wesweld." And of course, we allowed that to fall, assuming maybe a bit of wine in the evening upon Daedrin's tongue.
Yeah, and
The second witness I would call
Yeah.
is the monk who bore witness to Daedrin's assaults upon your lordship in public, as well as he was there when the rabble began and was ringing the bell to call help. And third, Samantha, who witnessed all with me from the front stoop of Goldleaf Inn as we watched on as this man, and I'll look upon the Dane. Matter of fact, I'll circle right up to the Dane's chest, look up at him, and say, as this man was instigating the rabble from behind, this is the man who accepted coin from Daedrin's man.
So,
and I'll look at Daedrin, and I'll turn and look at Eric, and I'll say, this is my evidence, these are my facts, and I only attempted to stop this before it started by sending my man Yami, and I'll point to Yami, who does not speak English, Lord, I can translate for you, to apprehend him and end this rabble.
And Westweld seems to be thinking over this, right? But to fill the silence, Lord Eric then pipes in and says, "Well, my lord, if he wishes to call witnesses, by all means he can call witnesses, but I find it disturbing that this man, this merchant from London, decided to take justice into his own hands instead of allowing my lord or his guards."
Your man to create rabble and further discord here at the foot of my lord Weswell.
And Westwell at that looks up and he says, "You've had your say, Janus. Now allow the alderman to speak." And the alderman looks a little bit pleased with the slight rebuke, but he says, "You keep saying that my man here was causing this rabble, and yet any of these witnesses whom you can call and I can call will clearly state that this conflict was started when the men of the church, those godless heathens who claim to be Christians, started rabble rousing. And then, of course, the actual godless heathens came in and they started instigating as well. And if it wasn't for your town guard here, it could have gotten out of control." And
I think if I can interject, Boethius would have made his way down. I wanted to make a little late approach.
Yeah.
When I
fashionably late, so that everybody will turn and look at you when you come in.
Adric, you seem to be surrounded by godless men. Are you claiming you're the only one here that has any fear of God?
And maybe to punctuate that, right, at that point, the doors open and Boethius enters, right? And maybe there's like another crack of lightning behind, and thunder behind you. But yeah, you enter the hall and everybody kind of looks up.
Now I'm wearing my anger on my sleeve. It better represented as, I'll be a little gruff and then trying to pull up my robe. It's all wet and soaking, and I'm mud splattered, and I'm brushing myself off, and I'll stop and look up at the the all the witnesses and the noblemen, but I'll pin my eyes on the Lord, and I'll stop and bow for a second, uh, and let that anger dissipate off me, and say, Lord, I'm sorry I'm late. I had the injured to attend to, and then I'll give a scrutinizing look to all the nobles and anybody with this part of that display upon the hill that we just witnessed. But I would think that the Lord has, as I had said before, spoken. And if you look in your heart, who is the real guilty culprit. But my eyes is going to go across the whole scene of people. Okay. And then I'll look and for a seat and kind of gesture his okay. And if I can have a seat.
Yeah, well, you do so, and then Eric looks to, just venom on his face, daggers in his eyes, right? He looks at you, Janus, and he's like, he says, well, no, I'm not the only God-fearing man here. In fact, it is quite well known that this town is full of the God-fearing. In fact, we witnessed that miracle 3 years ago. You weren't here then, but I was. And he says, even the miraculous happened. Even many of the pagans converted to Christianity. So, yes, I do believe in God, and I believe God is on my side, and he will witness this today. And Westwald, you can tell, is just getting so frustrated. And he says, all right, enough talking. Janus of London, you stand accused of taking the law into your own hands and of causing the injury to this man. You have claimed 3 witnesses can speak on your behalf, one of which is Brother Boethius, who is now here. If you wish, I would be happy to hear your witnesses. We can question them, and then we can determine whether or not their stories match up with yours. And then he looks to you, and then he looks to Eric, and he says, and of course, Lord Eric, if you must, you can call any witnesses you would have as well. Does everyone agree to this?
I'll speak only one truth here. I'll stand accused. Yami was acting on my orders. So I will stand for whatever punishment you may find, but I don't believe Yami should be held accountable. No more than Vidar acting on your behalf would be held accountable.
And Lord Eric would just nod. Yes. Go ahead.
Boethius stands up and nods. And I'll fold out I'll let go of my holy symbol and fold out my arms. Yeah, supplication. And as you wish, my lord.
And he says, very well, then why don't you come up, Brother Boethius? Come to the front, and we will hear your testimony. Now, as you're making your way up, Lord Westwold kind of looks up, almost as if he's looking to the heavens, and then he looks back at you and he says, we have troubling accusations, but Master Janus has said that you witnessed the events of this man taking coin, although I'm confused as to whether he took coin from our very own alderman, Daedrin, over there, or if he took coin from the alderman of Howard Town. But regardless, did you witness anything to the like, and did you see any proof that this man, and he points to the Dane, is guilty of causing this chaos that erupted today?
My lord, and then I'll take it and fling my finger at this Dane, you say? I was upon the hill in the abbeys, at the abbey, and the Christians were there. They were concerned about Bishop Athelwall being gone, and some of them felt the need to take it into their own hands, out of God's hands, out of your hands, and to do something about this. I advised otherwise. They did not listen to me, as all we have a tendency to be as human beings. And now look around everybody. But the people that have not converted, the pagans, and almost spit the word, they came up armed, I'm telling you, and wanted to suppress this, however, foolish notion. But in the midst of this rising tension, these two giant of a men, and I'll point at both, stood in the throng of the masses and began to clash steel. My lord, you know as well as I that the Lord, even if he uses the ignorant, can give us understanding about who is in the right and who is in the wrong. And though these pagans and this foreigner, and I'll point to Yami, do not believe, I believe myself that it was of God to determine which way we should go. And if this man, and I'll point to Janus, I'll point to Yami. If this man belongs to this man, then they stand in the right. And then I'll pick up the cross and kiss it and look at him.
Yeah. Okay. Lord Eric really wants to say something at this point, but he's about to, but again, Westwell silences him, and he looks to you and he says, "Yes, of course, Brother Boethius. God will make all things clear in time. But I have a further question. So, by your own testimony, you say that when you were in the church, you witnessed these Christians speaking the way they did, and you witnessed the armed pagans come in. But at this point, no violence had been committed, correct? They were just talking. They were rabble rousing, so to speak.
They were talking, one with the intent, and the other prepared with the intent to put down. The pagans, as it were, came bearing arms. They had progressed further along this track toward ungodliness.
Okay.
Christians
I hear what you say. I hear what you say. But what I need to know was, did either of them, before these two men engaged in combat in the square, did any of the pagans or any of these Christian fanatics engage in any physical hostilities?
When the two giants came to blows, it set the keg aflame. It was the spark that ignited the potential in both of these groups. As far as accepting money and pay, I don't know, but as far as I see this, little to be learned from this. We should focus clearly on what God has shown in us through the victory. And then I'll point toward Janus,
Yeah.
of this creature, this man's creature, and I'll point toward Janus.
Yeah. So interesting. The Westworld seems a bit surprised when you mentioned the word victory, right? Um, but then he looks and he says,
All victories are the Lord's.
yeah, and he says, "Indeed, indeed." Just one more question for you, brother. Did you witness who started the fight between the two giants, as you called them? What was there provocation? Was there what? How did it happen? Who struck who first?
Lord, I will speak on that. I ordered Yami to bring the man to me. Yami attempted to bring him to me. I will clarify that. There is no doubt my man acted, but he acted as we were trying to stop what he was doing.
I did
I would
not see my
also,
Lord, but I
I would
heard.
also say, Lord, what I do on your behalf. You are surrounded by serpents, and I look at Eric, and I look at the Dane, and I look at Daedrin. You are surrounded by men, I think, who have little faith in you, Lord. In London, when something like this occurs, on behalf of our king, we will do what we must to protect our king. That's all I did.
That sets off an uproar among, especially Alderman Eric and Alderman Daedrin, because one is like, you see, he admits it, and he stands here taking justice into his own hands, and then Daedrin is like, he refers to him, or he likens the Lord to a king. You see, it speaks to the hubris of the Washburn line. Yeah, and they're mad because, of course, Janus is saying, like, these are serpents, right? And so Westwell, knowing he has to get this under control, like he bangs something on the big table, like his like big mug or whatever. Quiet. And he looks to you, Boethius, and he says, "Okay, you're dismissed."
My Lord, and I'll back off and walk back to my side.
Yeah.
Where I've been sitting.
Yep. And so then he looks over to Vidar and he motions for him to come up. And he says, "Now let us hear your testimony. Vidar, tell us, is what the man Janus of London says true?" And Vidar looks to you and he says, "Well, yes, my lord, in the sense that he came to me and told me that man," and he points over to the Dane, "had taken coin in a way that looked very suspicious, and he was concerned that he might be causing trouble. But when I arrived at the town square, the chaos had already broken out. I do not know who it was that attacked who, so I cannot speak to that. All I can speak to is the fact that, one, I did witness our Alderman Daedrin speaking out of place, as he is wont to do, or known to do, and his son making a drunken fool of himself. But as to the events that lit the spark, so to speak, that I cannot speak to, for I did not see it." And Westwell thinks about this for a minute, and he says, okay, I think that's all for now. And then he looks around the room and he says, "Somebody go fetch Samantha Pratt. Bring her here. She is said to be witness to these. Bring her in. In the meantime," and he looks over to you, Janus, and he says, this is, he kind of, not so much as a proclamation to everyone else, but more just for you, although he's not intentionally like whispering. He says, "This is not looking good for you. I understand what you were trying to do, but nobody can take the law into their own hands. Not here." And
then you, my lord, ought to end this farce now and declare what it is you want for punishment.
and
Why waste our time?
and he said, so
On behalf of your county.
I'll stand up at this moment and excuse myself with there are wounded to be tended.
Yep.
Putting a little exclamation point on that, and then I'll back out and head.
Okay.
Abby.
And so, right. So, all right. So you're able to, you kind of get up and they let you go. And Westwell has this, he's a bit surprised, at the proclamation, Janus, that you just made. And he looks a little bit troubled, but he says, well, in that case, do you feel that there is anything that Samantha Pratt will be able to add that would exonerate you of these charges? Because so far, nothing I have heard proves anything.
I would not speak for Samantha. I would not put words in Samantha's mouth, but I will say she certainly can bear witness to the fact that I gave orders to Yami in Arabic. She would not know what I said, and that Yami pursued my orders to bring the man to me, to end the rabble and bring the man to me. And if you see that as a bad thing, then you, Lord, are not yet equal to the task at being Lord. And I see why these men have little faith in you.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Okay. So that sets off the second outburst of outrage. And Daedrin, at this point, he's shaking his head. He's like, yeah, see, like he knows what's up. He's agreeing with you, which is funny. But of course, Eric is like, what? How he speaks against my lord when my lord was trying to show him mercy and justice. This is, and so finally, as this happens, again, the door opens, and for a second time, it seems the lightning and the thunder crack as it opens, and it kind of illuminates the shadow of Samantha. But for a moment behind that, Janus, you would definitely again see the figure of this holy person, just for a split second, almost as if the silhouette of Samantha coming in was that, and then the way you perceive it, it almost materializes into Samantha, right? And she comes in,
Right.
And the Lord, mentions her up, and he says to her, Samantha Pratt, you have been called to stand witness to, instruct us on what you witnessed today, with Janus and his man Yami and the events that took place. And so he says, tell us, what is it that you witnessed today? And so she recalls, exactly what happened, right? That you came to her, that you told her this. And she says, I didn't witness what happened in the courtyard, but I don't know that matters, as it seems as though Janus has clearly said, yes, indeed, he did order his man. But I will say this, and there's like this hush that comes over the room, and she pauses for a minute, and then she says, as you know, I being the owner of the most prosperous tavern in Dredgetown, I hear many things from many sources, and I will say that I have heard from numerous reputable sources that this Dane was paid to instigate strife and cause trouble here in the town. That I will swear to, but I do not know if he had done so at the the events of today or not. But I would say this, it does seem that although this man Janus is not from Dredgetown or the surrounding lands for that matter, he does seem to have the right of it, my lord, at least in his perception of the events that took place today. And, it's like, what? Eric is like, how could she say this? She's biased, because he's brought, his spices have brought her custom, and, she's benefited from his relationship and she would continue to do so, blah, 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 blah. And finally he's like, shut up, and so finally, Westweld asks if Lord Eric wishes to present any witnesses or any clarification. He says, no, I need not. Janus has admitted with his own mouth that he did instigate the events that I spoke of. He's injured my man, and I wish for, at the very least, for compensation to help, because now my bodyguard can't, he's ineffective until he heals. But more so, he says, I want him banished from the town because he's clearly a troublemaker. And so Westweld, you could tell, for a split second, he almost smiles at that. But he manages to keep his composure. And then he says, very well, I'm ready to pass my sentence then. And so he has everybody rise and he says, Janus of London, you stand accused of taking the law into your own hands and dispensing the Lord's justice without permission. That offense has been, or the accused who has suffered because of that, or his man has suffered, has requested a payment to make his man whole and banishing you from the town. And my judgment is that request will stand. You will pay a sum to be determined later to this man as recompense, and you will be asked to be removed from the town post haste once the recompense has been paid. And you will not be allowed back into the town unless there are special circumstances mandated by me or by this council. And so
this is
go ahead.
This is fair, Lord, as I was planning on leading your man on the hunt for Brother Ethelwold or Bishop Ethelwold in the morning anyway. One more duty I was to do for you.
And he says, yes, it does. It does seem that that God has smiled upon you, although I fear that you will not be able to complete your mission, as unless something changes, you will not be allowed to enter these lands again unless you are to be taken into custody and held in the stockade. But you get the impression that this is very much like this is what he's supposed to be saying, but this actually works out rather favorably for him and you in the sense that it does get you what you want. And so he asks at that point what Lord Eric thinks is a fair price. Lord Eric tries to name an outrageous price, at which Westweld says no, stop it. And so he makes a slightly less outrageous request, but still somewhat outrageous, of 25 silver as recompense, because he doesn't know how long it will take for this is his bodyguard, or so he claims, to recover. And so then Westweld will look to you, Janus, and he says, and do you have 25 silver, or can you procure that?
If I did, I would not pay it. His man is not harmed any more than he could have been, as we spared his life. For his life, I would pay 25 silver. I will not pay a sum like that.
Interesting. And Lord,
if he wants the refund, take the coin from around the neck of his Dane. That he can have.
And he says, Lord Eric says, what kind of justice is that? Taking coin from a man who was a victim? No.
I have yet to see justice here, Eric. But I will have it later. Rest assured.
And then they say, well, the Lord says, if you will not pay, as is my judgment, then you will spend the night in the stocks, and in the morning you will be you will be banished from the town, and we will seek other means of compensation. And he says, now,
Will not bringing back Bishop Ethelwald be all I can repay? Would that not be a bounty enough for your court?
and he says, indeed, but bringing back the bishop, if you can bring him back, and does the sign of the cross, will still not undo the events of today. But that is not something that we need to speak about today. And he looks to Vidar, and he motions with his head, take him to the stocks. At first light, he will be escorted out of the town. And then they will move in to do that. And would Yami react at all? Because they intend to have Yami there with you as well. Yeah.
Yami knows that we're an illegal.
Yeah.
I mean, he's very aware. And I will, as they take me in hand, I will tell Yami in Arabic that he needs to take flight to a secure location, preferably the boat, for the morning, and prepare the ship for sail.
Oh my God, you're gonna tell him to run?
No.
Go
to
okay.
the boat. Wait
all
for
right.
morning. Right.
Oh, well, no,
take flight to the boat, the fishing boat.
They intend to have him in the stocks right along with you, because he was the one
okay.
he was the one that that actually committed the act. So yeah. So they would be trying to corral you both into the stocks for now. And then if you put up no resistance, then they will take you.
No resistance. No.
Yeah. And so I think that will happen. And then, Brother Boethius, as you have exited already, you do have that paper, or what might be correspondence, still in your pocket.
Yeah, I've got it in my head. Yeah, I was gonna just waiting to do that. But anyway, no. What I had did was go up to the Abbey. Mm-hmm. I don't. I'm waiting on word for at least to see if my ride is potentially there or not.
Yep.
But why I had left was to go up there after I check on everybody, make sure that they're all right, and the other brothers are doing that. I'll find a little secretive, like my little alcove, light a candle, and take this. I guess it's a tube with. Is it a tube or paper or what?
It seems almost as if it was like a stack of papers that was wrapped in like a waxy type paper and sealed with a wax seal. So with the intention to keep it safe from the rain, but it isn't in a tube, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that it was halfway destroyed. So, it's got mud on it, I'm sure, if it fell out and whatever. So I will rinse it, break the seal.
Yep.
And then start undoing the papers to.
Okay.
So.
Yeah.
To read what was going on, and and just let it fall on me.
Mm-hmm. All right. And so as you open it, you see a letter in a very neat hand, right? Very well. You can tell that whoever wrote this had practiced their handwriting in their letters and whatever. And it simply starts, my esteemed father, please instruct, or please give me counsel. Why is it that you're all, that the Northmen have been invading my lands unimpeded and seemingly coming through your own? Please send word, otherwise I may find myself besieged and without a throne. And she says, your obedient daughter, Marianne. And underneath, it gives all the titles, but essentially it's Queen Marianne Osbert Leinster, right? The Queen of Ireland. And so you would know that her father is the king of Northwich, and so she's basically like, dude, what the hell? Like, why are these Danes coming into my lands from your kingdom and raiding? Like, I need help. And
Okay.
yeah, you can see that and she says that she's had to leave Dublin, and she's been wintering, or I guess it's spring now, so she's been in her other palace, I think like the Southern Palace or whatever she calls it, more in the English lands, not so much in Ireland anymore. Because she's like, I had to get out. They were raiding. I fear that my capital will be taken over by the Danes. Like, I need help. So
So,
this man
so
was
she
in possession. This Dane was in possession of that letter.
okay. So this was written to her father in Northwich, right?
Yes. Yep.
And asking him for aid, or why did he
Well,
left?
more of an explanation. Yeah, she doesn't. Yeah, she's not directly asking him for aid, but telling him, look, if you don't do something, I may not have a kingdom left.
Just because she's being
Yeah, because
strong
there's
with
a lot of Danes
forces.
invading into Ireland, and
Okay.
she can barely keep control of her own capital, let alone from the clans, right? Let alone Danish invasions. So
Okay, I set down the papers on my lap and breathe a sigh and look around, in the candlelight, thinking what to do. I'll put them back together and put them in a pouch. That's when I go outside to look over at the overlook, the vista, and I would notice that the torchlight, because this is later on in the evening.
yeah.
This is dark with them leading someone to the stocks, and I can only assume that things went awry. In fact, I'll ask one of the small, you know what I mean, one of the little allocates or whatever that
Acolytes, yeah.
get in there,
Sure.
yeah, and give me the information of who is in the stocks exactly. And so when he returns, he'll let me have that information.
Oh yeah.
Okay. I'm going to go see if I can get the Lord's attention. So I'm walking back down there. I'm not stopping at the stocks. I'll try to stay out of their view while I go there to the hall. And if I can gain entrance.
When you tell the basically the guards, right, what it is you seek audience with the Lord, they say, unfortunately you can't. He is retired for the evening. He will see you in the morning. But he did leave this, and it's a small, note or letter for you. Hopefully this will clear everything up, right? And they hand it to you.
Okay. I will open the letter and read it.
Yep. And with no pretense, no formality, he basically says, for the love of God, get him out of here alive and shut, forcibly close his mouth if you must, but find our bishop and bring him back safely. And so you can tell, I mean, you know what this is, right? It's the Lord saying, get Janus, once he's allowed to leave, get him out without any more trouble, and and find the brother.
I'll turn on my heel and go down the hill.
Yep.
And I'm going to the stocks for a second. I'll approach and almost like I'm just giving prayers for those in the stocks, and walk up to Janus.
Yep. And keep in mind, this whole time, the rain and lightning and thunder have been coming down harder and harder. Like, it is really starting to storm. And at this point, people are starting to get worried, like the river might start to flood, because it's been a hard rain. So, but anyway, go ahead.
And
Yeah,
Janus
no, no.
looks in this particular situation soaked. His black eyes that are normally black, deprived of oxygen, are far worse. His lips are blue, and wheezing audibly as you approach.
Can your ship set sail, Janus?
Pulls out his
No. Do you speak spiritually, or do you mean on the morrow? Because I must tell you, you will have to hear my final. You will have to hear my final words, because I definitely
morrow,
feel like I
man,
will not
look-
survive the night.
I look both ways, on the morrow, man.
Mhm.
In fact,
That's if I am living on the morrow. And it coughs up some phlegm. You can see phlegm, as he's coughing.
yeah,
retching.
coffee. I don't even take a half step back, and I'll lean into you. We need to do this hastily. Will your man here be able to man the boat and head us north?
Oh, is Yuri and his son will man. My man Yami would escort you.
Okay, I'll look both ways and see if anybody is out there. It's coming down fairly heavily, right?
Yeah, well, so
No.
so you're in. So the stockade is such that it would be at least provide some cover from the rain. It would be like some cells, so to speak, but rudimentary, because obviously, like, if they were putting you in real prison, that would be a problem. So yes, but nobody.
Yeah, when you said stocks, I was imagining
Well, so
hanging in the stock.
my apologies. No, I didn't mean the stocks as in like a hanging. It's more so like that's where you would be, but what they have is these little like cells where you would wait upon the morning, because they don't really have any other place to put you, so to speak.
Gotcha.
Right? It's
Right. Yeah, they don't have
justice
jail-
here is harsh. You
jail-
either get
right,
killed,
right.
you fight, or you get hung.
Right.
So yeah, so
Okay.
you're in this like little like locked room, so to speak. Mhm.
Okay.
So
Okay.
so Boethius,
Still
you'd be
miserable and
undercover.
wheezing
It would
as-
still be cold. The rain, like mud would be
Yeah.
all over. Yeah.
Yeah, the rain itself is
Yeah.
what's really killing me.
Yeah.
Right, the moisture, the humidity.
Okay. Well, would I'll look around at the rain and everything like that, and it's less to worry about the rain. This rabble wants to get word of you. They'll strip you, down and take your life. Are the guards in the morning? So we need to get you out of here as quickly as possible. I cannot lose my.
Then you better pray to your God, because I don't know how you will get me out of here.
Okay, I'm the locks on this thing. Is there any how I'm examining them?
Yeah.
So yeah, when I do that, and I'll look to see if they're where the guard shack may be, or whether the keys may be.
Yeah.
And
So there was one guard, and he he was he's not like right next to you, because there's no way Janus is gonna like escape, right? There's no so they're not guarding him, right? So what he does is but where he's posted, he's getting wet, like he's not too happy about this, and so he kind of looks over to you, and he takes the ring of keys off his belt, and he hangs them on this nail on a post, and he says, "Oh, I have to go take a piss." And he goes off. But like he caught your eye specifically before he did that. So you kind of get the impression that he's like, look, I'm not gonna say nothing's gonna happen here. I'm not seeing anything. I don't know how the prisoner possibly could escape. And then he leaves, and you're left alone.
Well,
except for the snoring
yeah.
drunk in the other cell. He's gonna be hanged on tomorrow for theft.
Okay, and I gathered my things at the ready, and I'll go over there, get the keys, and unlock them both.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, and you, by the way,
And
you and
Yuri,
Yami would have been cramped into both. Like you both
Yeah.
would have been in that cell.
Yami has to carry me out.
Yeah.
And if you're gonna make speed, he has to literally carry me. Right.
yeah, that's fine. Whatever he needs to do, but we
Right.
need to do it fast.
Right.
I'll hang that on there, and say a slight prayer for the guardsmen who may be You know what I mean? May get the short end of the stick on this deal.
Right.
You know?
And I'm assuming they didn't strip me of my valuables when they locked me up.
Well, you do not have your weapon, and neither does Yami.
No.
And
No,
but
like
they
my
they
rings,
didn't.
my silver
No.
rings,
They
my-
didn't take any of that.
So I'll slide one of the silver rings off and hand it to Boethius. Here, set it where the guard will find it.
Okay. I turn around and reluctantly kind of, and then I'll put it.
Just curious, did you put the keys back on the ring?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. On the
I
nail
did,
or
and
whatever.
I'll put the other ring on the nail
On there too.
with it,
Okay. Right.
Like it was a deal. First, I was
Yeah.
like, no, I ain't gonna do it. And I was like, no, this is a deal between them two. I'm not involved.
Man.
You know what I mean?
See, and what I love about this is Jason's like, oh, man, I'm trying to do a good thing here. And clearly they're going to be like, wait a second. The prisoner's gone and this expensive ring is here.
Well, hopefully the guard isn't stupid enough to let him see the ring, right? But hey,
That remains
that's a
to be
luck roll. That
rolled.
would be a luck roll for me on behalf of the guard.
Yeah. If you
It
want to
might be
make that
wrong,
roll, you certainly can.
Because
If
the
you care
guard may
about the
make
guard,
out
yeah.
just fine.
All right.
He'll get reprimanded, or he could end up,
Yeah.
in deep shit. But hey,
Yeah.
I'm trying to pay him for what he did.
Yep.
10 plus 1 luck, 11. We
All
have
right.
11.
Interesting.
Okay.
Okay. So that's actually good. Okay. So you guys are making your way out in the streets. Now nobody's out at this point because it is just like coming. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like a freaking storm, right? And you can see like the river is not calm right now. It is very heavy. It's moving fast. And Yami has to kind of carefully pick his way through the streets because the mud is just like every footfall it tries to suck his boots down into the the street. And so it's a squelch, 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 but he manages to carefully and with as much haste as possible bring you down to the docks. And you can see the boat, the little fishing boat, just rocking there, and the man and his son who normally do that. They're huddled down. They're just like they've been told like be ready, but oh man, they're worried. And so as they see you coming down, now are you carrying like any kind of a torch wouldn't even work at this point
I've got
probably.
a walking stick made of an apple orchard branch. You know what I mean? But other than that,
Okay. No, that's
you know,
fine.
and a bag-
So as you approach, they initially kind of jump up, ready to defend their boat if there's a problem because they had heard the carrying on earlier. But as they recognize Yami and then Janus, they say, "My lord, is it time to go?"
And coughing and spluttering. Yes, we must off, as I am a fugitive from justice, Yuri. We must off.
I'll stay robed a little bit with my cowl above me. You know what I mean?
It's like, that's bad fortune indeed, my lord. Bad fortune in this storm.
The river
We'll be
runs
lucky.
fast. We shall move very quickly in this.
Indeed, we will.
You will be paid handsomely upon the arrival in Northwich.
And he gives you this wry smile, like, if we arrive in Northwich. But I must ask, my lord, and as you guys are getting on the boat, he's preparing, but he's saying all this stuff while they're moving. If we hit some rocks in the middle of the river and we capsize, will you still pay me?
I'm drowning standing here, man. Oh, and I scoff up a large phlegm ball,
Yeah, and he's like,
I'm going to drown whether we go or we don't go.
He's like, God be damned, let's go. And so him and his boy, they kind of heave off, and the boy looks really, really nervous. Like he's never they would typically not sail in this condition at all.
Right.
And I mean the boat ride out of town is about as awful as it can be. I mean, you feel like at any minute you're going to capsize.
Right.
But the last thing before, I mean, you could barely see the town as you're leaving it in your
Right.
wake, but the very last thing that you see before it completely disappears from sight is another big old bolt of lightning, right? And it illuminates like the sort of the silhouette of the town. And you can swear, and both of you see this, but you could swear that you see this lone man like standing on the dock, just looking at you, like, and I mean, it looks just like Janus, the same figure you saw before, and Boethius, obviously, you
Dude, I've
believe
never
that
seen-
it's
I've never seen Bishop Aethelwald, so I just keep seeing this.
right. You just see
Yeah.
the countenance of what you appear, yeah, what
Yeah,
seems to be
now,
a holy man, yeah,
Boethius may know who it is, but for
right,
me, it's like, who is that?
yeah,
I shudder. You don't know if it's from the rain, the cold of the rain, or the sight. You know what I mean? And then I'll turn my eyes away
yeah,
and and clasp my ever diminishing holy symbol in my hand. You know what I mean? It's like white knuckling it and shivering. Okay,
mhm,
and move faster. Put your backs into it. You know, I'll say as I
yeah.
hunch over.
Um, and so they do, and as the night, I mean, it seems like the night just lasts forever, but the funny thing is, as you make a little bit of distance away from Dredgetown, it seems that the weather calms a little bit. I mean, it's still raining and it's still quite, blustery, but it is at this point it's much more of your sort of typical like English spring rainfall, just a little bit heavier than
Mhm.
it might be.
Mhm.
But the water is churned up, and it is taking everything that these guys can do to keep you uh, from capsizing, right?
Mhm.
And so this is so funny. I keep rolling on the chart, and I keep rolling the same number over and
Yeah,
over
that
again.
happens, especially when you're rolling 10s, 11s,
Yep.
12s. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, here we come. And so at some point, it it's maybe an hour until dawn. But the river, you've gotten to this point where uh, Janus knows that there's going to be rapids. There's going to be some rocks, and he will not navigate that in the dark. He's just like, nope,
Mhm.
it's not worth it. We're going to crash if we do that. So he beaches, and he says, listen, we'll be okay until light, and once first light appears, I should be able to get us back on track. We can make our way most of the way to Northwich from there, and then we may have to disembark a little before that. But he says, but I believe that there is, yes, indeed. And you can see that there's some cliffs and stuff, right? You're kind of in this like hilly land as you go further and further north. And so there would definitely be like caves and rock outcroppings and all that kind of stuff in here. And he's like, I think if I remember, yes, there it is. And he kind of points a little. You can't see what he's pointing at because it's dark, right? But he's, oh yes, it's down there, as if he thinks you know what he's talking about. And there's a cave down there. I used to store barrels of fish there in my younger days to prevent the Northmen from stealing them. Yes, but I suppose that would be a place we could stay, keep us dry. It's free of bears. Don't worry.
A smuggler's hole. And I'll smile, but although I look like I'm literally 3 breaths from death, and I'll put a hand on Yuri's shoulder. Yes, it seems I did contract the right man and his son. A smuggler's hole. Yes, good.
I would never say anything so indelicate, but yes, I suppose it could be used as such. Anyway, and so he says, but I know the way. Don't worry. And at this point, they'll beach the boat, right? They'll kind of bring it up on the thing. He's looking at it. He's like, yeah, I think, okay, the water is not going to rise so much that it'll bring it back out and we'll lose the boat. And so he says, okay, follow me. And he says, it should be clear of bears, but just in case. And he pulls out this dagger and he hands it over to Yami. It's it's just a kind of a normal dagger or whatever, not
Right.
much, but he's like, but just in case it isn't. But as you get close to the cave, you again the thunder is still booming, and there is lightning from now and then, but you start to hear screaming. You hear what sounds like probably a woman screaming from the direction that you're heading. And what did you say the guy's name is? Janus?
The captain of the
Yeah.
boat's Yuri. His
Yuri,
son's Cole.
Yuri. Okay.
Yuri and
Yeah.
Cole. Yeah.
Okay. So Yuri like stops dead when he hears this, and he's like, "Oh no! What is that? Is it a banshee? It could be a specter." He's starting to get really freaked out here, but he
Right.
stopped dead. He doesn't want to go on any further. But you hear the continued like shrieks and yells of this woman, supposedly.
Boethius is kind of
so-
echoing his.
Yeah. In Arabic, I will tell Yami, go find out what this is.
And he looks at you.
Go find this these screams.
He looks at you, and he looks back at the dagger. This is like, it's not even that well made. And he's like, "Well, just this? Oh, fine, but you're gonna pay me more."
It's a woman screaming. She could be screaming at mice, man.
And he says, "Listen, I've been in these lands long enough. These women do not scream at mice. They are hardier than that. But I will do as you say."
Then.
No.
I'll take the dagger from him.
No, he won't give it to you. There's no way. Unless you want it. Unless you
I'm
want it
reaching
to.
for the dagger,
Yeah.
trying to get it from him,
Yeah.
and coughing up phlegm and
No,
a
I'll
little
take
blood
care
on
of
his boots.
Boethius has not been very audible at this time. He's been very skittish, and his eyes are darting around.
Yep.
Seems to be holding on to his sword. Very much the same as when they left. But any kind of jostling, like the boat pulling up, or them telling him he's got to get off, he definitely kind of snaps out of it and then rejoins them.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's his situation.
Okay, and so Yami now kind of he puts. I guess he would have to probably put you down. Like, are you even able to stand at this point, Janus?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get the dagger from him to go.
Oh
but
yeah, and he's like,
I
no,
mean,
no,
it wouldn't
no.
take much for him just to push me away.
Yeah, he won't let you take it, but he will look over to you, Boethius, and he'll kind of maneuver. He's speaking in Arabic, but obviously you can't understand it. But he'll maneuver Janus so that he's kind of leaning on you. I don't know if you would want him to do that, of course, because Janus has a sickness, but regardless,
I'm kind of unaware of that. I'm preoccupied with other things. So when Dennis bumps up against me, I'm kind of snapped out of it for a second there and look at him. But right now I'm a little bit docile. It would take a little bit more than that. But I'm not readily able to hold him if he falls off me or whatever. But I'm kind of anyway.
I think it's probably a situation where like Janus has enough strength to stay upright as long as
and coughing and spluttering. I'll wheeze into his ear, Boethius. Where's faith in your God now, Boethius? Come now, have faith. And I'll cough and splutter.
Well, when you say that, it does attract my attention, and I look aghast at you or whatever. And then, like first, I'm looking you rebukingly, and then it's more like self-questioning in my own eyes. And then I start to mouth the words, "Where is my God?" And then I'll look around as I do that and kind of get lost off and go back to where I was. Okay.
Yeah.
And you actually, and I don't know if you can tell me if this has ever happened to you before or not, but you actually, you're thinking that phrase, and it's as if you receive like a divine answer. It is, you hear a voice that says, and you said like, "Where is my God?" Basically, like what's going on? Is that? Yeah. And so you hear the answer basically. He is in your heart and in your faith, and you must trust in him and his plan. And it's definitely the voice of, you remember it to be the voice of Bishop Athelwald. And thinking back on it, you remember this, like he hits this in every sermon he gives you, right? You and everybody. But like, it wasn't like a memory. It was almost, it feels like, he was, and in fact, it sounds like he's like speaking right behind you.
Okay, yeah. Whenever that happens, I turn.
Yeah. Janus
Yeah,
almost slips. Whew.
yeah, like
Yeah.
over my shoulder, and then I stand and I'm shaking a little bit. But in my mind, I take it as like that memory,
Mhm.
So that thing that's haunting me is given a little bit more weight with that what just transpired. But
Mhm.
otherwise, I'll look around unsure, and then right now I'm starting to, even while Janice is laying there coughing and everything, I'll start to fill my pockets and make sure I brought everything and kind of bring myself out of the stupor that I've
Mhm.
been in, right? And kind of reorientate myself. So I'll be going through those processes. And a little bit I asked Janice where, and I look around at Yuri, I don't know his name. Where are the boatmen, and where is
Yeah.
your giant?
Yuri and Cole, they're right there, but Yami has definitely gone ahead.
Where's your giant man? I'm asking Janice.
Janus, yeah.
I look at him and I say, "Do you not hear the screams, man? Wake up!"
And you
And
don't. The screams have stopped at this point.
and that's when I'll realize,
That's all. What screams?
did you not hear the screams? And I'll cough, and I'll bark to Yori and Cole, fetch me the eucalyptus leaves and make
Screams? No.
and we must
Why have we stopped? Why have we stopped? Why are we not?
Yami investigates screams, and I'll point in the direction we heard the screams.
Yeah, and actually, as you point, you now see, and again, it's still pretty dark, but you see a figure who you assume is Yami because he's pretty tall, coming back towards you. And I think at this point, the father and his son, they would probably have some torches. Maybe one of them, probably the son's going to find the eucalyptus leaves, like you said, but the other one's holding up the torch, and he says, "By the gods, who is that?" And then it reveals it is Yami, and he's carrying somebody in his arms. And as he gets close enough to you, you realize that it is a female. It's hard to tell the age of this person, but I mean, she's fairly small of stature, and he kind of comes in, and you see that like his arms are like just covered in blood, and she doesn't seem to be like all covered in blood or anything, but his arms definitely are, and he kind of this young woman, she's young, she's very young, maybe 12 years old, maybe. Yeah, and she, she's just got this like she's not all there. She's
Right.
glazed, she's
Catatonic
shocked.
almost.
Yeah, he puts her very gently down on the beach, and as he kind of comes back up, like again, you can see he's got fresh blood like on his hands, like it looks like he ripped somebody apart.
Okay.
And he went in, he comes over to you, and he kind of hands the dagger back, and yeah,
Yuri knows that I will never ask him
yeah,
his business.
or Yami, yeah. But he says he looks troubled. I mean, and he's like,
Is the dagger also covered in blood?
mm-mm.
Okay.
What's wrong with your man? And I'm leaning back
In Arabic, I'll speak to him in Arabic quietly through heavy wheezes and gasps.
What has he done to this girl? And I'll try to go
And
up there.
I'll snap a hard look at Boethius. I guarantee you, he's done nothing to the girl.
But he's covered in blood. I'll go over there and try to wrestle the girl out of his grasp.
No, he put her down. He put her down. Yeah, she's sitting like, and she's literally huddled up, like with her arms around her knees, kind of just rocking back and forth.
And start muttering prayers as I'm looking at her.
As soon as you start to approach her, she starts to scuttle back like as fast as she can. She is terrified of you, but once she realized, like, you kind of have your holy symbol and you start saying prayers, she realizes you're a priest. Yeah. And
it's all right, my girl. It's all right. It's all right. I'll keep back while she's scuttling backwards. I'll kind of kind of, coddle her a little bit and kind of caress her and rock back
If
and forth with her.
if you try to touch her at all, she recoils from the touch. Like she does not. She seems,
Yeah,
if
I've
you
tried
just
to
talk
do
to her,
it.
she seems to be okay. But every time you kind of reach out to touch her, she flinches, she jumps back, and she
Take you
starts.
2 or 3 times to get that message.
Yeah,
Once she's clear, I'll just default to just talking to her, and
yeah.
I'll put up my okay. What has happened to you?
And you get the impression she doesn't, it's like she doesn't quite understand what you're saying. At some point she starts speaking, but it's not in the English that you guys are typically used to speaking. This is definitely one of the older, more northern dialects, perhaps from Ireland, from the Scotlands, like somewhere up
Welsh.
there. Well, maybe Welsh, yeah.
Welsh.
It doesn't. Well, it's not quite as
People can't
tongue-tying as
understand
Welsh.
Welsh
Yeah.
even today.
No, well, because they have like 16 consonants with no vowels, and
Well,
and that's just the name
people,
of a town.
yeah, I mean, she responded to me, since she knows I'm a priest,
Yes,
but
but she
but
can't. She doesn't. She has a few words in English. She's and like it's taking. You could tell it's taking everything she's got just to like have any kind of coherent conversation. But she says, "Pray for me. Pray for me."
we shall pray together, and I'll kneel in front of her and put my hands together,
Yeah.
the steeple, and start saying, and I'll try to reach out and grab her hand.
And again, she flinches back.
Yeah.
But she'll sit a little further away from you, but she's definitely huddled in prayer. But like she's like shaking like a leaf. And you realize like she's literally just in like a shift, and it's torn. Like she doesn't have, it's cold. It's a cold night. It's wet. Like it's awful. And so she's probably just like, damn near freezing at this point.
I'm trying to discern what actually happened to her, and I'll earnestly pray at this point to see if I can discern anything.
You have
Especially from the boy.
you have a pretty good idea what happened to her.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, and I mean Yami, like, and I don't know if Yami would normally be like this, but Yami looks really like disturbed about what happened.
And again, in Arabic, calmly, I'm attempting to get from him, is the child now safe? Are we safe? I'm not interested in really hearing
what
a story.
happened. Yeah.
I want to know. You've dispatched the problem.
Yeah. And basically, it's like, yeah,
on my face and make an accusation that Yami is the one who, violated this child. You say he did nothing to her, but look what he's done.
Janus will smile at you, Boethius. It has not been long enough for him to have done anything to this poor girl.
I'll get the girl's attention and point toward the giant and see how she responds. And like him, you, trying to make the correlation for
her. Okay, actually, if you will, make a luck roll for me. You'll get an answer either way, but I'm curious to see. Fine. Yeah, a few things here. Okay. She is. It's very difficult for her to really comprehend a lot, but she senses your urgency, and when you're pointing to him and then back at her, she doesn't exactly know what you're saying, but she goes like this. Like she's trying to indicate to you that this man is, and then she's like trying to figure out what to do, and then she like starts tracing in the sand with her fingers, and you would recognize it as like a very crude drawing of like an angel.
Okay, I stand up, kind of taking this in the stock, and I'll look back at the giant and then toward Janus, who seemed like much help at all, and I'll draw my line in the sand. She is my charge. You will stay away from your giant. And then I'll lean down and start talking to her, trying to coax her a little bit. Do you understand me? Back over my shoulder toward you.
Right. Yeah. And you get the impression that as long as you don't touch her, she won't flinch away from you. But yeah, she's definitely in a bad way. As if to Yami had been almost oblivious to all of the stuff that Boethius was saying, but he does look back to you with like haunted eyes, and he's like, "We cannot spend the night in that cave. No one can spend the night in that cave." And then it's at this point he realizes like his arms and hands are just caked in blood, and so he goes over to the river and he starts to like clean himself off a little bit. And then
I'll stand with all my strength. What I have, I'll stand and I'll bark to Yuri and Cole. We should move downstream just a bit further, just a bit further away from here. The cave is not safe. Boethius, do you hear me? Coughing and spitting. We must, everybody in the boat, away from here.
And Yuri's like, no, the cave is fine. If there was a bear, look, he would have killed it. It must be fine.
So Janus will stumble over to Yuri and put both hands on him to come over, hold myself up and look him in the face and say, "Then you need to go to the cave now."
Oh. He's like, "Okay, where's my
man? You cannot have it both ways. Into the boat."
He's like, "Where's my dagger?" And he's going to go, and then as he starts to make his way, Yami
I'll stumble away, and I'll flip the dagger hilt toward him, and I'll hand him his dagger hilt first.
As he goes, Yami comes up out of the water. He's like, "No, like don't go in there."
And I'll
but
in Arabic
stop him, but
in Arabic, I'll bark, "Let him go. The fool believes the cave is safe." Cole, and I look at Cole.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have anything? Do you want to say to your father, Cole?
And he says, "Be careful, Papa. Be careful."
I'll look at him now over my shoulder and stand up fully. How are we supposed to navigate the river now?
Well, and
have faith.
Yeah.
Boethius, maybe you should say some prayers on behalf of our captain.
Oh, I was going to ask.
You should counsel me on faith.
Someone must counsel you on faith. You have lost your way. You have done little prayer for us on this journey.
You assume too much, Janus. And I say it spitefully like that. That I'll almost reach down to hoist the girl up, and I'll stop beforehand.
I bet he's a damn dirty pagan.
Right, child. So we'll start stomping off toward the boat, because in my mind, whatever transpired with her is the cave. I don't want to bring her toward that if she don't even want a human touch. Mm-hmm. So let's get to the boat.
Yeah. So you'll kind of motion her to the boat, and she's like, no. But if you kind of persist, you're like, look, But I did want to ask. So Janus is somewhat of a worldly man, right? You do obviously speak Arabic. Do you speak other languages as well, or would you be conversing at least in a little bit?
I would, but it would depend probably on a mind check in these areas.
Okay.
Right. So I mean, maybe French, Arabic, or foreign country stuff.
No.
Do make a mind check for me then, please.
12 plus 1, 13. So critical success with a +1.
Okay. Why don't
I'll
you?
Take it.
Yeah,
it's not often you get that.
So I guess so. In two in a session.
Yeah.
So she speaks you recognized her speech. And she definitely speaks the sort of the Gaelic languages of, Ireland and Scotland and whatever. And so tell me how it is that you are fluent enough in those languages that you could converse at least well enough to do business in those lands.
Having worked my way up through the how do I say this? Brittany, the Greater Brittany on the on the mainland, right? Mm-hmm. Having worked with Gaelic clans, more as more as individuals who lead or would escort me, or to not so much in trade.
Okay.
There might be some barter, some trade, but mostly from clan to clan or village to village with a guide at some point
Yeah.
during all of my trials, right?
So, like just taking a nice vacation in Scotland, wanting to see the sights. Okay, I get it. Avoiding the plague whenever possible. I got you. Cool. All right. Yeah. And so, yeah. So you can tell she's like, no, I don't want to get in the boat. I'm scared. But it's at that moment Yuri will come back, and like he's got a very similar look on his face that Yami did, and he's like, "Yep, must have been a bear. Those two, they were ripped apart. Looks like a bear, but I didn't see the bear anywhere. What did he do
Yeah.
with it?"
I'll look at Yami, knowing full well who the bear is, and then I'll look at Yuri, and I'll say, Yuri, all that matters is the bear is not here. The girl does not want to ride in the boat. So you and your son are going to have to take the boat downstream, say a quarter of a mile, and we will portage along the river here with the girl.
Okay, if that's what you wish.
And I'll issue orders to Yuri to escort Boethius and the girl, and
to Yami
Cole,
or to
no, I'm going to tell Yami
Yami.
to
Okay, yeah.
follow Boethius and the girl
Mhm.
about a quarter of a mile down upstream, and and with Cole, and I'm gonna ride with Yuri in the boat because I couldn't walk it.
Yeah.
And so Cole will be
Okay,
with
yeah.
the girl.
Yep.
So I'm gonna tell the boy, it's about 15. Make yourself available to the girl if she is curious or is in any way in need of your assistance. So I'll tell Cole, kind of leaning on his shoulder, and not speaking to Boethius, and I'll give the orders to Yami. Just follow them, make sure they are safe, and we'll meet you a quarter of a mile downstream. And I'll climb in with Yuri and tell him let's off.
She yeah, and you do that, and she doesn't seem like she can walk very far at all. She was able to take a few steps here and there, but she mostly, when she was like getting away from Boethius, she was scrambling on hands and legs, and eventually Yami would approach her, and she lets him approach her. And he very slowly, he's going to start to reach his arms down, like to pick her up. And this would be very, very noticeable, Boethius, because it seems like she trusts him enough that she will let him, but he has to literally carry her because she doesn't seem to have the strength to be able to walk on her
Well,
own.
I've been trying to get her up, even though I said stay away from us. Whenever I don't see at first, I would bolster up to him. But if he was just stoic and bending down to pick her up, and she was more receiving and wasn't fighting it, I think it may take a little bit. But he would pick her up, and then I would follow.
Yeah.
With the frame of mind that he better not do anything against her. You see what I'm saying? But I'm not myself. I can't take him out.
Right.
So I'm not really all of that line of thought. But I'll be her guardian angel, as it were. That's what I'm, set my position at.
Yeah, and you remember, and I think we'll probably wrap it up here. But you remember, especially in the early days of after Ethelwald was officially ordained as the bishop, that he kept talking about how even though the pagans and the non-believers were needed to be brought into the faith, it didn't mean that they weren't doing God's work on this earth, and that we could, you had to judge each man by their character and their deeds and whatever. But he's like, don't automatically distrust the pagan or the non-believer simply because they haven't found God, because it is his disciples' job to spread the word to the non-believer, right? The Gentiles, so to speak, not God will not necessarily impress upon their hearts automatically. And so it was this message, and it sat very well with the pagans of that era, or of that area, right? He's basically saying, listen, like, be peaceful with them, talk to them, spread the message, spread the gospel, and give them the benefit of the doubt unless they show that they can't be trusted. And so you're getting that, like, it's almost like memories, right? Like sort of distant, but you kind of remember, like, God, he preached about that a lot. Like eventually we were like, man, we get the point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be more like a gnat to me, though, to
Yeah.
tell you the truth right now,
For
because
sure.
that's, but like if you're saying those tendrils of the previous,
Right. It's just memories that are somehow infecting you.
that I had,
Yeah.
kind of build a wall up against.
Yeah.
They seem to be creeping over that wall and going
Right.
into me. But right now, it's more like I'll be halfway distracted at that as I'm following Yami. It'll occur to me at some point, and I'll be cursing myself along the way that I left my pigeon inside the boat. You know what I mean? Kind of covered up, and hoping one of the the lugs don't overturn it or sit on it or whatnot, right?
Yeah, no, that is a holy pigeon. It's the Lord's pigeon. It'll be okay. And so I think that with that, like, as the sun starts to come up over the horizon, finally, as day breaks and the clouds start to dissipate, the rain stops, and almost as if a like juxtaposition to just the terrible events of the day before, it with a new dawn comes new hope, right? And even the girl seems somewhat heartened by the sun on her skin, and you're able to travel a little ways down, and you find a little inlet where there's like it's like a small, almost like a path where like trappers and hunters might have walked. And Yuri would say that off that way a little bit is a larger road, which will lead to villages right on the border of Northwich. And there you could either like portage the boat over the land to the next river, or they could leave it beached here, and then you could go overland from that point. But they were saying that at least you'll have nice weather to travel. And that before sundown, you should be able to make it to at least one of those villages. And but the further north you get, the girl starts to get more and more agitated, and finally she's getting to the point where you guys have congregated again, and Yami basically brings you over to her, Janus, and he's like, do you know what she's saying? And and you listen, and she keeps saying like rapid fire, like Scottish, but you can understand a couple of the words, and she keeps saying danger, the witch, you can't, there's a witch, like watch out. And so
now, while she's saying that, I'm like testedly kind of getting up close, and like I said, put her down. I told y'all not to be near her, that kind of thing. So I'm kind of distracting that way while Yami's trying to tell you that. Okay. So
yeah, I mean, and Yami would be.
I listen to the girl, and then I look at Yami, and in Arabic I say she is just still in shock from what she has had to deal with of recent, as you well know, Yami. And then I turn to Boethius, and I say, she will calm. Time heals all wounds, Boethius, unless you want to say a few prayers and aid her healing. Ignoring, I won't speak in her language, and I certainly won't acknowledge or share with anyone what she's saying.
Okay. Set her down so I can care for her. And I will.
You would have to tell Yami to do that. He would. I
Yeah,
mean,
oh,
eventually
yeah,
he'd put
right.
her down. but-
I'm telling you to tell your man.
yeah.
Yami, relinquish the girl, put her down, allow her to rest. Boethus clearly needs her grounded to work his spiritual magic upon the girl.
I'll gesture toward her. I'm kind of being a little bit standoffish. I won't touch her right now, but I'll kind of clear a path and a way for her to sit down, and then I'll sit beside her and kind of do a visual assessment of her, make sure he didn't touch her as I'm glancing over my shoulder, and then I'll like make the pray gesture and let her. And I'll say, pray with me," because she obviously understands those words.
Yeah,
And that's
she would, and then maybe afterwards she would motion like that she's hungry. But so maybe as you guys are fixing a breakfast on the road to be able to get your strength up for the next day's travel, because you had to travel all through the night, so you'd be exhausted at this point. But
yeah, that's what I was going to say earlier. I forgot too that I didn't get any sleep.
Yeah, none of us would have.
oh yeah,
Want to rest. Yeah.
yeah, for
The
sure.
boat and all the walking and everything like that. And my agitation kind of.
We might want to rest during the day here.
Yeah, and it might not be a bad idea at least to depart midday, because at that it'll give the road a little bit more time or the moisture on the ground to kind of dissipate a little bit. Yeah, but there will be one final sort of not a vision, but those words in your head, Boethus, as you hear words something along the lines of guard your hearts and your mind against those false prophets and sorcerers that will try to deceive you. The true man of God must always be true to the word. And it's almost as if this is just boring into your head at this point. You're getting this ominous feeling about what's to come.
When I'm hearing this, it's like a phantom thing. And I'm going, no, stop. Coming to myself. And I have been saying this throughout the whole time as I've been haunted and kind of hounded by this. But those words specifically and how they're translated to me, you'll see me calm down, and I'll kind of rocking back and forth while I'm praying with her, because it just kind of hit my head again. And I was going, no, and I'll stop and kind of split a little smile.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'll kind of rest it right there.
And the scene, the camera would pan away and, up to the heavens, so to speak. And, I think as it's looking down, you would see, the silhouettes of Yami with these angelic wings and Boethus with this forked tail. And no, just kidding. But it would again just leave with this sense of warmth and beauty and calm and peace that these warm spring days have been of late, providing, with the exception of last night. And so with that, I will say goodbye to everybody and thank you again to my players.